Aloha and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the easiest step-by-step in how you can buy your first rental property in any market. And you're going to want to stay to the end of this video because I'm going to even show you how you can buy it with none of your own money. Stay with me, get your notepads out, and let's get going. Aloha, my name is Stacy Johnson and I'm a real estate investor who turned negative $30,000 on our first flip to over $300,000 from flipping, wholesaling, and buying rental properties last year. Okay, let's get right into it. So we're gonna go through the step-by-step on how to buy your first rental property, and step number one is always going to be research and education. It's super important to understand your numbers and what kind of market you're getting into. Is this a market that even makes sense for renting, or is it more of a flipping and wholesaling play like Hawaii, how it's super difficult to cash flow, but sometimes you're able to cash flow. And my first rental property, I actually did buy in Hawaii, but there was a bunch of things that I had to do outside of the norm for it to cash flow. So I'll reference that property in the video. Here are a couple things that you should be looking out for. Number one is market trends. Where are people actually wanting to rent? Where are the prices of rent going up? Where purchase prices of houses are going down? Those are probably great places to buy a property to rent because the demand is still going up. That way you can get a better cash flow and a better return on your money. Typically, if there's a lot of job growth in an area, there are going to be a lot of people flocking to that area, and it's probably going to be a good place for you to buy a rental investment. Second thing you want to research is the property types. What kind of property makes sense in your market? Does it only make sense to buy multifamily, condos, land, whatever you're looking at? If you want to get into glamping, then you're going to want to buy a piece of land. If you want to get into short-term rental, then you better find an area where the zoning is right. You're going to have to research all of these things. And number three is the rental property regulations. Like I had mentioned, zoning is a huge importance in this part, because if you're trying to do short-term rental and your zoning is residential and they don't allow for that, then you're going to be in huge trouble. Because in Hawaii, there are people getting fined like $10,000 a day for doing short-term rentals in a non-short-term rental area. So make sure you understand the laws and regulations in that area. I want to give you a couple recommendations for books and podcasts to help you get some better education. Some of my favorite podcasts and YouTube channels are Bigger Pockets, Pace Morby, Steve Trang, Ryan Pineda, Wealthy Investor. If you're interested in real estate investing coaching, go to the link in the description below. You can sign up for a free strategy with the team and see if Wealthy Investor coaching is fit for you. The number one book that helped me realize that I needed to invest in real estate was Rich Dad Poor Dad. So if you haven't read that one already, I highly recommend it, by Robert Kiyosaki. So after you do your market research, you're going to want to do number two is define your investment criteria. There are a couple things that go into defining your investment criteria, like choosing a location, choosing what type of property that you're going to want to do, and what strategy you're going to want to utilize. So let's say you pick a single family home and you say, I want to buy a single family home in this specific neighborhood. Let's call it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zip code. For that specific property, I'm going to create a crystal clear criteria for it. I for sure want to buy a 3-bedroom house. It can have 1 bath, but I want the opportunity to build 2 baths on it so that I could force the appreciation. And when I run the numbers, I need to at least cash flow $300 a month. This is clear, specific criteria that you can create for yourself. Let's say you're going to be choosing glamping, then you're going to say, I want at least a minimum of 1 acre where the zoning allows me to do glamping. This will give you a good idea of how clear your criteria needs to be. The biggest number that people usually look at instead of cash flow is actually return on investment. So you're going to figure out what kind of return on your initial cash up front that you need in order for this to be considered a good deal for you. Before you get started at looking at properties, you're going to want to create some kind of checklist that shows your clear criteria. And if your property checks off everything in your checklist, then you know it's going to be a good deal for you. So now that you've figured out your crystal clear criteria, you're going to want to figure out your financing, which is step number 3. Determine how you want to finance this property. There are many different ways that you can finance properties, and I'm just going to name off a few here. You got traditional mortgages. This is usually going to be some kind of conventional loan, which you're probably gonna have to put 20 to 25% down on an investment property, but you're gonna get some better rates and you're gonna be able to qualify based off of your income. So if you don't have a regular job, this one's gonna be very difficult to get financing for. Another financing option that you can explore is private money lending. If you're able to find somebody to fund the entire purchase, rehab, and have reserves, then you're potentially able to buy this property with none of your own money. And everybody wants to buy properties with none of their own money, right? Because then you can buy multiple properties at once instead of waiting until you get more money to buy the second one. This allows people to scale much faster than going the traditional route of using all of their own money and using a traditional mortgage. Another way that you can finance properties with none of your own money is through partnerships with investors. Let's say, for example, that you found a property that you know could be a solid deal. And you said, Stacy, I really want to do this deal. I think that there's enough money for both of us. Do you want to do this deal with me? All I need for you is to bring the money. And I look at it, I'm, heck yeah, let's buy this deal. It looks solid. So someone like me is gonna bring in all the money to close the rehab, and then we can go in the property and do it together. So now that you figured out how to finance your property, we're gonna move on to step number 4, and that is analyze properties and make offers. Whether you're finding properties on the MLS through Redfin, Zillow, or real estate agent, or you're looking through wholesalers, or you're going direct to seller, all of these ways work, and it's just important to put in the work and be consistent with it. So one thing I always like to do is I tell myself, okay, how many properties do I need to look at in one day? When I was first getting started, I knew I needed to talk to at least 5 sellers every single day. And that doesn't mean to call 5 sellers. It usually meant calling like 15 sellers and 5 of them would answer and we would have some kind of decent conversation. If we just talked on the phone and they were like, no, I'm not looking to sell, that doesn't count as a conversation. I wanted to have at least 5 decent conversations. So let's take this for somebody who doesn't really have a marketing budget and you're looking on the MLS with a real estate agent. You want to talk to 5 people who have properties listed and have a conversation with them to see if this is a property that could potentially work for you. It's super important to analyze a ton of properties using that checklist that you made up front. See if it fits all of these criteria, and if it is, go ahead and make an offer. Typically, people were making about 20 offers before getting that one property under contract. And even then, that one property may not even go through. You might go through the inspection period and find out that it's a property that you don't even want to buy. So volume of offers is a big deal in real estate investing. It's not easy to find a property that works. It takes a lot of work and effort. If real estate investing was easy, everybody would do it. Nobody would have a job. So don't get discouraged when you make 30 offers and you get none accepted, because this is just a part of the process. So pick a number that you can stick to. Let's say you want to make 5 offers a day. If that's something that you can stick to, then go ahead and do it. But if you can only make 2 offers every week, just know that this process is going to take longer, but it doesn't matter because it's not a get-rich-quick scheme and you can build wealth in your own timing. So now that we made some offers, let's say that we have a property under contract that they accepted our offers. Step number 5 is to do your due diligence and fund this property. Utilizing the strategies that we mentioned before, whether it's private money, traditional financing, or whatever you decide to use, you're going to secure your financing for this property after you do your due diligence. So here are a couple things to keep in mind when you're doing your due diligence. Number 1, you need to get a property inspection on this property, whether it's paying for a home inspector or getting a contractor to walk through it and give you an exact scope of work. Super important to understand what you're buying. What's underneath the foundation? Is the roof okay? Is the mechanical systems okay? Is the electrical systems okay? Is the flooring crooked? You want to check all of these things and run all the water, run all the electricity. That way you know what you're getting into. A professional contractor or home inspector is going to give you a full scope of work of what you need to do to bring this property up to par. Even if you're buying the property turnkey and the listing agent says that this property is ready for move-in, you still need to do your due diligence. So besides the property itself, you also want to do due diligence on the area. Confirm to make sure the zoning is okay for what you're trying to do. Make sure you confirm that the neighbors around you aren't going to ruin the strategy that you're trying to do. For example, let's say you're trying to do a short-term rental and you notice once you're under contract that your neighbors on the right and your neighbors on the left and the neighbors across of you have a ton of abandoned cars and it looks like all of their windows are cracked. They're probably getting broken into pretty often with how broken their windows are. Is that something that you still want to buy a short-term rental in? Probably not, because you're probably going to get a ton of bad reviews for that property once they find out that they're in a super ghetto area. So making sure you check out the neighbors specifically to see if this is a viable strategy for you. So once you confirm and do all of your due diligence and you secure your financing, now it's time to get to the closing table. So that takes us to step number 6, and that's to close the deal. Your loan officer is going to give you all of the loan docs for you to sign at the closing table. You need to do a final walkthrough to make sure that the property is in the exact condition that you saw it during the inspection, and schedule an appointment with a notary to sign all of the closing docs, fund a deal, and buy the property. And that's it. Those are the 6 steps so that you can buy your first rental property in this market. So what are you waiting for? Stop watching this video, go take some action, go find a market, and start making some offers. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next video. Aloha. Shoots!